It is 8:39. Welcome back to CW Iowa Live.
That's right, and we love checking in with bankruptcy attorney Mike Jenkins this morning, who's going to continue on a discussion we started about habits that people have that could possibly lead them to filing for bankruptcy. So let's see if we can stop those habits before they even begin this morning, Michael.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be good, but that's your business, though. But at the same time, this is really cool that you're giving this advice.
Well, we don't want people getting into trouble, so just assume that people not have to see me, but unfortunately, that won't be the case for many. So try to help as many as we can before they get themselves into trouble.
All right, and we're going to touch on a subject here that is something that's very important to a lot of people.
So last time we covered a few areas. There's lots of habits, so we couldn't get them in during one segment, so we have to carry it on to this one. So last time we talked about people misusing their credit cards. We also talked about people going through life relying on the overtime income they make to buy things and think it's always going to be there when it's not.
Right.
And then we also talked about the fatal mistake. Well, maybe fatal's not the right word, but the
financially fatal mistake.
Financially fatal mistake of being too willing to co-sign loans for your friends and your relatives. And now that those are out of the way, we'll catch some of the other ones. So the next one that I see on a regular basis is people have an affinity for trading in and out of their motor vehicles. They like to have a new vehicle every year or two and have it all nice, or they, for some reason, get one and apparently didn't give enough thought to getting the brand new 2017 whatever and didn't like it. I don't know, whenever I buy a new vehicle, I kind of like it, but they go, yeah, they have it for a year and they go, I just don't like this vehicle. I need to get rid of it and get another one. Well, the problem is the majority of people, when they get a car, instead of putting several $1,000s down and getting their payment lower and having some equity in it, they just finance 100% of the vehicle and maybe pay the taxes on it, and that's it, or in a title fees. So you're already getting into a depreciation situation. The minute you take the car off the car lot, even this brand new 2017, the minute it gets home, it's worth less than what you paid for it. And the longer you finance your cars for, the depreciation is worse in the first several years because you're not really paying much of it down in a long loan. So when I was younger, a long loan was 5 years. That was the longest people would finance, 60 months. 48 months was a better situation, right. And that was real common for people. And then it grew to 72 months, 6-year loan, and that's what I would say I almost see as a universal basis. Everybody's getting 6-year loans. And now we're seeing 84-month loans, 7-year loans.
Really?
And people are buying these really expensive vehicles, and the reason they get 7-year loans is because they tell the car sales guy, look, I can't go over a certain payment. Well, the longer you stretch out these loans, the smaller your payment can be. And so they'll do anything to fit within the payment that you can afford. Or the financing guy says, hey, this guy can't go over a certain monthly payment, or we can't do the loan. So all of a sudden we're into 7 years. So, I mean, these aren't particularly good loans, but so if a person gets one of these 6 or 7 year loans, no money down, then a year or two later they just decide, I don't like this so much, I want to get another one, and they trade. Already they're in a situation where they could be $6,000 or $7,000 upside down on the value of the vehicle compared to their loan balance. And so people get themselves into these situations, and sometimes they traded in 3 times, and each trade, there's not enough money on the trade and to pay off the old loan for fair value. So they're carrying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 of old loan onto the new loan, which is going to be going upside down pretty soon anyway on their 6 or 7 year financing. So people are riding around here in these vehicles, and we see this all the time, where they're $10,000 to $13,000 upside down.
Really, that much?
Yeah, it's crazy, and it boggles my mind that the financing entities, the lenders, whether it be Veridian Credit Union, which is a big lender here locally, or Wells Fargo Auto Finance or Ford Motor, they're just willing to take on these debts onto these financing, and I just don't understand why they find it's good financial business to do such things, but they do. And so then the person, going along and they're paying their car, and oops, they just lost their job. So now they're maybe spending $600-700 a month on this car they got, or this pickup truck or SUV, and now they can't make their payments, and they fall 2 or 3 months behind, and it gets repossessed. Well, if they'd been in a vehicle where they were just buying the vehicle and got a couple years in and hadn't traded into the vehicle, the damages after repossession are still going to be, somewhat significant. Maybe you get clipped for $4,000 or $5,000, but if you don't have a ton of other debt, it's not great, but it's something you might be able to manage to fix later on. Mm-hmm. But instead, they're sitting at these things where they're $10,000 and $15,000 underwater, because when the vehicle gets repossessed, they generally get sold at an auto auction, either in Iowa or somewhere in the Midwest. And the only people that come to these things are car dealers. Well, they're there to buy those vehicles at a low price so that they can make a profit on it when they take it back to the car dealership and put it on the lot for sale. So the person could end up, almost owing on them what they call the deficiency, the amount of another car, darn near close to a used car.
So when that car is sold, that money is applied toward the loan, but then you still owe the rest.
Exactly. It's just like a payment, and then they write a letter to you saying, well, we sold the car, we applied this $12,000 or $13,000 to your $40,000 loan, and we'd like the rest now. Well, the person can't pay it. And so that debt all by itself, if the person lived responsibly in all other respects and didn't have credit cards and all those other bad things, they're having to file bankruptcy because of this disastrous vehicle loan.
So because your car is repossessed doesn't mean it's off your responsibility list.
Right. I mean, a lot of people treat it that way. They just go, well, that's the end of that one. But they do have to pay, and eventually they will get sued on it, and they come calling for the money. So it's a really bad habit and bad thing to do. You should just pay for the vehicle that you buy, or if you've had it for 4 years or 5 years and you're almost done with the loan, maybe just a year left or 2 years left, yeah, that's fine. You can trade out of it then. You probably got equity in it that'll be used as a down payment on your next vehicle. But trading your vehicle in during, the first third of the loan, just bad idea.
Not a great idea. All right, let's move on to another thing about having or not having insurance.
Yeah, so the insurance that we're talking about, the first insurance I'm going to talk about is health insurance. So it's a big deal to make sure you have health insurance of some type, whether through your employer or, through Obamacare, to the extent it's still available here in Iowa, because I think there's only one health insurance carrier they're saying is even going to provide that. Right. Hopefully that'll change. But if you don't have health insurance, you're playing financial Russian roulette. And it's not just something that elderly people need, or people that are starting to advance in their later years, or people with chronic conditions. If you get in an accident or some weird illness strikes, appendectomy or something like that, you don't plan for things. And so there's a lot of incidents that wind somebody in the hospital that they weren't figuring is going to happen. And it doesn't matter what your age is. You could be 18 or you could be 58, but if something is going to happen out of nowhere, you're going to the hospital and they have to do surgery. Well, if you don't have insurance, you could be stuck for 20 to who knows how many tens of thousands of dollars that you have to pay. And the medical facilities aren't so forgiving. There are certain situations where they will write off certain medical balances under a charitable program that they've got, but that isn't a very common situation. And so that was a really large thing that drove people into bankruptcy, was not having medical insurance. Going to the doctor isn't what costs somebody an arm and a leg. If you don't have insurance, instead of paying $60, you pay $20. Well, most people can still afford a doctor visit, but it's the hospitalizations, the procedures, the tests that cost a small fortune, and the average person just can't afford to pay that out of their pocket. Mm-hmm. I was watching a program the other day, and they were mentioning the different things that have changed during Obamacare. And one of the things that was mentioned was that the rate of bankruptcies has seemed to have been held down since Obamacare was passed. And they attribute that to the high incidence of insurance coverage, that millions of people that never had insurance before have it. And so now those people aren't being driven into bankruptcy by medical events where they hadn't before. And it's true that for the last many years, the filings of bankruptcies have been way down, and they've been kind of staying down. And so it makes sense to me that that would at least factor in some of it. We are certainly seeing less people that have to file because of medical, uninsured medical situations. So for the people that think Obamacare is a horrible thing, well, financially, I would suggest it may not be, at least as far as keeping people out of bankruptcy.
Yeah, because medical bills could be knocking on the door of $100 grand easily. Easy. Yeah.
And the average person can't manage that. You know. So having health insurance is something, if it's at all available for a person, young or old, they should do what they can to try to have it. Now, another kind of insurance that is pretty important to have is automobile insurance, partly because it's kind of the law. If you get
kind of a law. Yeah.
if you get stopped and don't have it, you get a citation for it. If you get in an accident and don't have it, besides the citation, then you are going to lose your driver's license, because that's one of the penalties for driving and not having insurance and then getting in an accident. It's called the financial responsibility law. And so what happens is, person gets in an accident, causes a bunch of damage to somebody else's vehicle, and they were at fault. Well, they have a responsibility to see to it that that damage is paid. So the DOT says, well, if you can post a bond for what the officers estimated the damage would be, and it's not just for the damage, it's some multiplying factor of the damage, well, then we'll let you have your license, but nobody can. So the person's license is gone for a year.
Wow.
Well, and if they can't get to work, that could affect their financial situation. And then after a year, they can get it back, but the other insurance company for the other guy that paid the claim to that guy, they can go after the person for their money, because if it was the wrongdoer that didn't have insurance, they're required or responsible for paying. And so what can happen then is they can take your license again. So you really want to have car insurance.
Unbelievable. So lots of habits that hopefully we're bringing to your attention that you can break, or maybe you're saying, hey, yeah, this sounds familiar. I need some assistance with this matter. Of course, they can always get in touch with you, Mike.
Yeah, you can find us on the internet at www.iowa-bankruptcylaw.com, or you can give me a call at 255-1855, or you can find my law firm's new Facebook page.
Oh, yeah? Just dial it up, huh?
Just dial it up.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
Punch it up.
Michael Jenkins, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
All right, it is 8:52 right now, and we will be right back. You are watching CW Iowa Live, totally serious news. Coming up, the new DOT sign is up. We'll show you what the new message says next.